It is 4:30 on WKYT this morning. A man shot at a Lexington McDonald's last night has died. We'll have the latest on this developing story coming up.
It was President Obama's last State of the Union address, filled with an optimistic outlook.
And some good news for college students. A proposed law to freeze tuition hikes is out there. And that and a lot more starting now here on WKYT.
This is WKYT This Morning.
Good morning. Welcome in on your Wednesday. It's good to have you with us. It's a cold start. I'm Bill Bryant.
And I'm Rebecca Smith. Let's get a check of that forecast and see how cold it's going to get with Micah.
You know, with some snow laying around, especially to the north of us, because now we're getting the winds out of the northwest, and it just rolls right over that snow, grabs that cold air, just kind of transports it southbound, and that's where we're sitting outside this morning with clear skies. Look at these temperatures. They're in the teens this morning. There are some single digits. Northern zone, Cynthiana, Mount Olivet, you can see there in Covington, 7 degrees. Bitterly cold as we kind of approach the afternoon. We're at 27 degrees. But look, we're going to stay dry today and dry tomorrow. However, another system rolls in here on Friday into your weekend, and I'm going to go over that and talk all about that in detail coming up.
Always a system this time of year. Thank you, Micah.
We're tracking some breaking news for you this morning. A man found shot multiple times in his car died last night.
Lexington police were called to the McDonald's on Russell Cave Road around 9:30. Workers said they heard multiple gunshots and then a car took off. The car then crashed into a tree in front of the business. Police found Timothy Brown Jr. in the car with multiple gunshot wounds. He was taken to UK Hospital but died shortly after arrival there. Police are still working on finding out what led up to the shooting. No suspects at this time. This would be apparently the 4th homicide in Lexington of this year. A home in Moorhead was destroyed in a fire overnight. Crews tell us that the fire started just after midnight in a home along US 60 East. When they arrived on scene, the house had already been engulfed in flames. Multiple units had to be called out to put the fire down. The home was a complete loss. Luckily, no one was home at the time.
Well, as the temperature falls, homeless shelters around the Bluegrass are filling up with people looking to escape the cold. The Beacon of Hope shelter in Winchester offers hot meals and warm beds for dozens of people. Folks staying there say they appreciate it.
There has been times that I have slept on railroad tracks. It means a lot more. So, you know, it's really, you know, you have to humble yourself and be really grateful for this.
Well, the Beacon of Hope shelter has been open for about a year now. Volunteers say they will not turn anyone away. Last night, President Barack Obama laid out his vision for America during his final State of the Union address. Among those in the audience, Rowan County Clerk Kim Davis. She attended on a ticket from Ohio Republican Representative Jim Jordan of Ohio. But Jordan claims he gave the ticket to the Family Research Council, who then in turn gave it to Davis without him knowing. Craig Boswell has more on the president's address.
The President of the United States.
A decidedly optimistic President Obama told the nation he's looking to the future.
I want to focus on the next 5 years, the next 10 years, and beyond.
Part of that involved looking back at the last 7. The president touted his accomplishments.
We're in the middle of the longest streak of private sector job creation in history.
He also championed the Iran nuclear deal, the climate change agreement, and America's resolve against terrorism.
When you come after Americans, we go after you. And it may take time, but we have long memories, and our reach has no limits.
The president didn't lay out broad-based goals for the Republican-led Congress, but did say he wants to work with lawmakers on bipartisan priorities like criminal justice reform and prescription drug abuse.
The president also lamented strained relations between the two parties.
It's one of the few regrets of my presidency that the rancor and suspicion between the parties has gotten worse instead of better.
South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley delivered the Republican response. She criticized the Obama White House, but also warned leading GOP presidential candidates against a hardline immigration stance.
No one who is willing to work hard, abide by our laws, and love our traditions should ever feel unwelcome in this country.
President Obama reminded Americans 1 year from now he'll be right alongside them as a private citizen. Craig Boswell, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
And in his response, Kentucky Senator and presidential candidate Rand Paul called the president, quote, a leader with a record of failure. He called for the next president to have a balanced budget plan.
The time this morning is 4:35 on WKYT, and Iran is holding 10 U.S. Navy sailors whose boats drifted into Iranian waters. The Pentagon says it has been assured by Iran that the soldiers and their boats will be returned safely and promptly today. However, the Iranian press TV has reported that the sailors are being, quote, questioned at this point. The Pentagon says the two boats had some sort of mechanical trouble while traveling in the Persian Gulf. We'll be continuing to bring you updates on that story as it progresses throughout the morning. A Kentucky state senator says the cost of college tuition is getting out of hand, so he's filed a bill that would make it harder for state universities to raise tuition. Republican Senator Dan Symes' bill would freeze tuition and fees at state universities for 4 years. After that, universities would have to ask the General Assembly for approval to raise tuition.
It borders on criminal what these universities are doing with these kids.
In a statement, a University of Kentucky spokesman said UK welcomes any discussion that would make college more affordable. He also said UK is working to reduce costs for students.
A Central Kentucky police officer is accused of stealing evidence, and he answered to the charges. Simpsonville officer Terry Putnam pleaded not guilty yesterday afternoon. State police say he broke into the police department and stole guns, drugs, and $30,000 of cash from evidence lockers. Putnam's been in law enforcement for a total of 23 years. One Kentucky lawmaker wants people to think twice before posting on social media. Kentucky State Representative John Carney proposed a bill that would stop people from immediately posting pictures and information to social media, things like Twitter, Facebook, that could identify victims of serious accidents. But the bill is raising concerns over the First Amendment. Carney says he doesn't want to infringe on any rights.
My goal was to basically just keep any citizen who may be driving by or a friend of someone who hears the news quickly from sending it on before, again, family members have time to be notified by proper authorities.
Well, right now, Carney says he doesn't have plans to try to move the bill to a committee. He says he wants to start the conversation. It's a good conversation to have.
And that he has done with that bill being introduced. Very interesting. The time this morning is 4:37. Good to have you along. WKYT this morning. We're just getting started.
Moms Every Day has 3 reasons why choosing cloth diapers over disposables makes sense after the break.
And we have temperatures in the single digits and the teens outside. But I tell you this, it's going to be cold today, but watch that climb as we work our way through the next 24 to 48 hours. Have that forecast coming to you next.
Now, your hour-by-hour forecast with meteorologist Micah Harris.
After snow moved out yesterday, boy, those skies cleared quickly. A lot of dry air moving on in. We're still seeing that outside early this morning. You see the lights of Hamburg. Things look pretty good, but they do not feel great whatsoever. We're 13 degrees now in Lexington. At 12, trio of those. If you work your way down 64, go from Richmond, then get off into Winchester, Mount Sterling, Owingsville, Moorhead, Salt Lick. I mean, you name it, off toward the east. And we're sitting there, right there around that 10-degree mark. Just a little bit above that, goes southbound into the teens. Close to 20 degrees far southeastern Kentucky, but nonetheless, we at least have some single digits in the region. Covington coming in at 7 degrees. Cynthiana right around 8 degrees. We get in through the day, and it looks like we're going to be approaching that 26-degree reading there by 4 p.m. So it does look like we're going to be holding on to temperatures pretty chilly for this time of year. We get off into the evening and into the night, and it does look like things will stay pretty steady there in the 20s as we start to turn those winds around. The winds are always the key here during this time of year. If they're coming out of the northwest, it's going to give us pretty chilly conditions. But if they're coming out of the south and southwest, boy, that helps us out big time. Frigid, but still sunny today. That's going to help us out with these cold conditions. Getting into tomorrow, we go from the mid to upper 20s today to the mid to upper 40s tomorrow. I mean, a big swing. We'll be a 20-degree swing from this afternoon off into tomorrow afternoon. And it'll feel really nice, too. System, yeah, that's the next one. It's going to be on Friday, and that'll bring us some rain chances there in the forecast. Not only rain chances, but I think Friday night into Saturday, that's our next best chance at some snow as well. So let's break it down. 27 today, we get into 46 tomorrow. Nice 20-degree swing-ish. We get into Friday, here comes that rain. Now, it does look like it'll come during the first half of the day, so it could be an all-day thing. that we actually pick up on some rain. It's not heavy rain, but it does look likely across the region. We get into Saturday, and it looks like once again Friday night into Saturday, that's when this rain switches over into snow. It's going to be another light snowmaker. I don't see a great chance of picking up a few inches out of this, so things aren't looking too bad in terms of how much we're actually expecting out of Friday's system and Saturday's system. And then on Sunday, we get another Arctic front come blowing on in here, and this will really knock some things down. We're at 17 on Monday and 21 on Tuesday. Guys, look at the overnight lows in the single digits for both of those mornings. And guess what time we come into work? Perfect timing for these single digits, right?
It's always like that.
Oh, man.
I told somebody yesterday, actually the temperature usually goes down after we get here.
Right, exactly. It still goes. Yeah,
so,
you're right about that.
So maybe we get here in the warm part of the day, Micah. Think positively.
Yeah, right.
4:43 on WKYT, a question that new parents have to answer. Cloth or disposable diapers?
Moms Every Day Rebecca Rainier talks to an expert who explains why she thinks cloth is the best way to go.
It is a whole new world when it comes to cloth diapers. So we've got an expert here. You're an expert on cloth diapering.
That's right. I've done it all.
Rachel Cyrus is here from Lullaby Lane. Let's get into it. Why do you choose cloth diapers versus the traditional sort of easy to deal with disposables?
Well, there's a few main reasons. The first is the environment. Disposable diapers take anywhere from 250 to 500 years to decompose. So that is terrible for our environment. The second is just to remove chemicals from our baby's body. So with the disposable diapers, there's so many chemicals. The cloth diapers are nice and clean for our babies. And the third, and the reason that I chose to start, is just for the financial impact on your family. You're going to save anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 per child by cloth diapering.
It can be challenging, but if you're committed to it and have the resources which we're going to give you, it can be a really rewarding experience for you and for your new baby. All right, for more information, all you need to do is click on Moms Every Day. For Moms Every Day, I'm Rebecca Rainier.
For these tips and more, go to WKYT.com, click on Moms Every Day.
And there you'll find the latest news and, of course, the updated weather as well. And it is cold out there.
We're all watching the weather.
We certainly are. Hey, it's good to have you along with us here on WKYT this morning.
Are you thinking about playing Powerball? How about getting your ticket for potential billions? We'll tell you just how you can do that on WKYT.
Hey, good morning again. Coming up on 4:48 on WKYT, President Obama gave his final State of the Union address last night to an exceedingly divided Congress and to a nation on the cusp of picking a new president.
Our Washington Bureau correspondent, Alex Miller, is joining us live this morning to recap the night. Alex, did the president take on a non-traditional tone he said he was going to?
In many ways he did, because he wasn't under that threat of re-election. So he took his critics head on, even making jokes that some of them needed to get back to Iowa to campaign. He did talk about these 2016 presidential candidates. He didn't necessarily name names, but he did talk about their policies. Now, on Capitol Hill, when I was talking to members on both sides of the aisle yesterday about what they wanted to hear from the president, they said they wanted a plan of how the president is going to deal with ISIS. Now, during his speech, the president turned it back on Congress and challenged them to authorize the use of military force. He also took on health care and even set a goal to defeat cancer. But his final message had to do with partisan politics. Now take a listen to what he had to say about that.
It's one of the few regrets of my presidency that the rancor and suspicion between the parties has gotten worse instead of better.
He went on to say that you really can't fix this problem by changing one congressman out for another or even changing a president. He said it's going to have to be a mentality shift across both sides of the aisle.
Well, here's another question for you. You know, South Carolina's Governor Nikki Haley had the honor of responding to the president's speech. What did she have to say last night there in Washington?
So when the speech was over, one of my email was flooded with members of Congress trying to get their opinion out there. They all wanted everyone to know what they had to say about the president's speech. So for Nikki Haley to get this airtime is a very big deal. She criticized both Republicans and Democrats for problems within Congress, but she says issues with the country really do fall squarely on the president's shoulders. Take a listen.
The president's record has often fallen far short of his soaring words. As he enters his final year in office, Many Americans are still feeling the squeeze of an economy too weak to raise income levels.
She went on to criticize the national debt and to say that the president is either unwilling or unable to deal with ISIS.
All right, thank you so much, our Washington Bureau correspondent Alex Miller. Well, Lexmark is reportedly thinking about splitting up some of its business. Reuters reports the Lexington-based company is considering splitting its hardware and software businesses for separate sales. The report says the hardware business has been hurt by a decline in printing sales, but the software business is growing. A Lexmark spokesperson would not comment on the report. In Rockcastle County, a mother faces charges after police say they found her children living in poor conditions. Police say they found 4 of Heather Dunn's 7 children in a home alone with no heat or electricity. The children also told police they hadn't eaten since school. Dunn later met police and the children. She told police her friend was supposed to pick up her kids but was running late. She also said her other 3 children were in Pulaski County. Police let her go, pick them up, but when she got back, they arrested her and charged her with 7 counts of wanton endangerment.
A building destroyed months ago in a fire in Perry County will be partially demolished. Hazard City leaders have been trying to figure out what to do with the old Grand Hotel building on Main Street. Hazard Mayor Jimmy Linden has opened 3 bids to tear part of it down. He says he does not want another hole on Main Street, and if they tear it down, they would not be able to rebuild. That is, if the whole structure went. The owner has said in the past that he wanted his company to handle the construction, but they are letting the city handle the plans now.
Our goal is to get Main Street open and make Main Street safe, so none of the citizens or anybody else, the other buildings around it, are in danger.
The Hazard Mayor plans on discussing bids with city officials. They hope to make a decision about what to do soon. Well, Powerball fever continues to sweep across the country this morning as the jackpot soars to $1.5 billion. Even UK basketball coach John Calipari bought a ticket. And if you're in the right place today, you might not have to pay for yours. The Kentucky Lottery is thanking players by giving away almost 2,000 tickets throughout the state. They'll be in Lexington at the Nicholasville Kroger on Brannan Road at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Don't forget, you'll be able to watch tomorrow night's Powerball drawing live at 10:59 p.m. That is tonight now. It'll be Wednesday night, 10:59 here on WKYT. There's Coach Cal with his lucky ticket.
I'll be 4 hours into sleep by then, so.
Well, maybe you'll hear the hooping and hollering.
Yes.
Okay, 4:53 is the time this morning. Good to have you along. Coming up, a look at some of the stories we're working on for you this morning.
We'll also have another look at your morning forecast. Stay with us.
Time now is 4:56 on WKYT on your Wednesday morning.
We hope your day's off to a fabulous start. Let's take a look right now at some of the stories we're working on.
Busy day, as we told you earlier. Lexington police were called to the McDonald's on Russell Cave Road around 9:30 last night. Workers there said they had heard multiple gunshots and then a car certainly racing off. The car then crashed into a tree in front of the business. Police found Timothy Brown Jr. in the car with multiple gunshot wounds. He was taken to UK hospital but died shortly after arriving there. Police are still working on finding out what led up to the shooting. They have no suspects at this time. We'll bring you the latest on the investigation throughout the morning.
We will have continuing coverage of the next Powerball drawing, which is once again going to be an historic event with the jackpot swelling to $1.5 billion. People are just pretty much going out in droves to get their tickets. Some lucky folks in Kentucky could even be made winners for free. We'll explain that and much more on WKYT coming up at 5 a.m.
Those numbers are way up there. The temperature, on the other hand, is way down there this morning, around 12 degrees in central Kentucky. And let's check in with Micah.
Yeah, and you can see that across the region now. Lexington coming in at 12, 11 degrees now in Frankfort. Lawrenceburg, Peaks Mill, stamping ground. Work your way into Harrodsburg, Salvisa. It's cold anywhere you go. We're at 14 degrees. Monticello, 7 in northern Kentucky. Frigid start. We get into the afternoon, still with mostly sunny skies. A few clouds filter in later on today at 27, but a huge swing of temperatures tomorrow. I'll show you some good news in your forecast. Coming up with another 2 hours of WKYT News.